WWE Tables, Ladders, and Chairs 2015. Show just wrapped up about near 40 minutes ago. I had to eat lunch again. There were a couple other things I had to get done quickly, but that doesn't matter. What we do have to talk about is, of course, WWE's annual version of Demolition Derby. And, well, starting things off, we had the kickoff show match, which was not announced until, I want to say, Saturday, maybe late Friday, and that was Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. And obviously Sasha came out accompanied by the other members of BAD, Naomi and Tamina. They did not have their unicorn horns that they got from New Day last Monday, unfortunately. And they began singing a weird version of the 12 Days of Christmas. I don't get it. Sasha came out right away and started, if you notice anything that she's been doing recently, it's like she's trying to kick her career back into the right way. She's not going to rely on, Charlotte and Paige anymore. Now the PCB's basically gone. Anyway, she came out right away, went for a quick roll-up and got a 2 count. What did I write here? Becky tries a few things to get, tries a few times to try to get her disarmor submission hold locked on. That's what happened. Yeah, she does manage to lock on an armbar a couple of times, but Sasha gets the ropes. Naomi gets up and distracts Becky enough to allow Sasha to get her double knee drop into the corner. Let's see. Becky was leaning up against the ropes, and the ref was distracted, allowing Tamina to hit her with a forearm. But Sasha went and locked on the bank statement, but Becky began to fight out of it. There was a big electric chair spot that led into a series of roll-up attempts. Becky hit a T-bone suplex and got a 2 count. Becky managed to lock onto this armor, but Tamina distracted the ref, which allowed Naomi to get up on the ring apron and kick Becky in the stomach, and this enabled Sasha to hit the backstabber, follow it up with the bank statement, and Becky tapped out. Sasha Banks wins. Overall, for a kickoff show match, this was actually pretty good. It wasn't just your average, ordinary squash match, though nowhere near as good as their NXT stuff, especially since right in the middle of the match they put a promo for something. I think it was the Stone Cold podcast. I get you want to promote that stuff, but you could have done that after the match, not stop the match right in the middle of everything. Broke up the momentum. Anyway, on to our second match then, which was the triple threat ladder match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. The New Day versus the Usos versus the Lucha Dragons. Early on, the ladder was set up in the ring, and Kalisto and Kofi both leapt from the ring ropes onto the ladder at the same time, climbed the ladder, began fighting each other off of it. The Usos, they actually got outside the ring. The Usos did a big suicide dive onto the ladder, which was held up by, I think it was just Big E and the Lucha Dragons. Like, I didn't see Kofi in it, but they said Kofi was in there. I didn't see him. But that was a big spot, obviously. Big E, and there was a spot where Jey Uso was in the corner. Big E put a ladder in front of Jey, grabbed Jimmy Uso, hit a big belly-to-belly suplex on the ladder in the corner. Then they did a... Kalisto hit a big splash with the ladder onto Kofi Kingston. Sin Cara then hit a big suicide dive swanton. A suicide swanton, sorry. A suicide swanton onto the ladder, onto the Usos at the outside of the ring, obviously. The Luchas pinned Big E under the ladder. They began climbing the ladder, but Big E basically bench pressed the ladder up and knocked it over. The Usos then sandwiched Kofi with a ladder. Sin Cara did a monkey flip of Kalisto onto a ladder, which was resting on Kofi Kingston. Kalisto then hit a Hurricane Rana on Kofi and sent him face first into the ladder. And definitely the spot, probably of the whole night. Both Kalisto and Kofi. Was it Kofi? No, it was Jimmy Uso. No, it's Jey Uso. It was Jey Uso, sorry. Kofi and Jey Uso, they were. Not Kofi. Kalisto and Jey Uso, sorry, were climbing the ladder. Kalisto got a headlock on it, managed to get to the other side of the ladder and hit the Salina del Sol from the ladder onto another ladder that was bridging between the big ladder and the ropes, and the whole crowd just went nuts. It was crazy. Funny thing about it is, Kalisto actually took the worst of it because he landed first on his rear on the ladder. Like the whole thing just bent in, and then after that, Jimmy Uso hit a big, set up a ladder on top of Big E outside of the ring. Jimmy jumped outside of the ring and splashed on the ladder onto Big E. Kalisto then began to glide, managed to regain his senses, began climbing the ladder. He was the only one up there. And then suddenly, Xavier Woods, who was on the announce table through pretty much the whole match. There was one point he stopped and played to the crowd and started playing the trombone and everything. But then he returned to the announce table. He got up from the announce table again. He said, you know what, this is no DQ. So he gets in there, he throws the trombone, hits Kalisto. Kalisto turns around, and this allows Kofi to pull Kalisto off the ladder. Kofi then climbs the ladder and grabs down the belts. The New Day are still tag team champions. This is probably the best ladder match of the year. I said best ladder match of the year, not best match of the year, just for the record. Definitely, it's getting really tough to get original spots with the ladder nowadays, but there were a lot of ones I had really not seen before. I don't think I've seen a suicide swanton or a suicide splash onto the ladder to the outside of the ring. Obviously, the Salina del Sol, like I said, it's probably the moment of the night. Well, that's about it. Excuse me. And after that raucous, well, technically beginning of the pay-per-view, we had a very quiet match between Ryback and Rusev. Early on, Ryback kind of dominated. He tackled Rusev into the barricade. He managed to do a big press slam on Rusev. There was a spot where both men were constantly trying to suplex each other. Eventually, Ryback got a big suplex on Rusev. Ryback hit a missile dropkick from the second rope for a 2 count. Rusev did a Sarge bump. Ryback followed that up with a crossbody for a 2 count. The action spilled outside the ring, and Rusev managed to push Ryback back into Lana, and that allowed Rusev to hit a super kick. He rolled Ryback into the ring, got a 2 count. Ryback went for a shell shock, but Rusev fought out of it and kicked Ryback in the back of the head, and that allowed Rusev to lock on the Accolade, and Ryback was basically out at that point. Rusev wins. If you've been noticing anything, Lana's been feigning injuries, and that's how they're getting her back over as a heel. Just have her accompany Rusev. You don't really need to do that spot. But, yeah. It was a match. And that leads us into our next match, the United States Championship match, which was a chairs match. Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio. I have this weird thing with the chair match. Okay, I get the ladder match. You climb the ladder, you pull down the belt. Okay, that makes sense. Tables match. You put the person through the table. That's how you win. Chair match. Okay, by that logic, shouldn't the chairs match just mean the first person to be hit with a chair loses? Anyway, let's see. Starting things off, both men grabbed chairs and were smacking them into each other, swinging them like lightsabers. Swagger eventually managed to begin slamming Del Rio's face onto several chairs. Swagger went for a Swagger bomb, but Del Rio grabbed a chair and kind of stood it up so the top part of the chair went into Swagger's gut. Del Rio went for the cross arm breaker, but Swagger countered it into a roll-up for a 2. Swagger eventually used a chair to perform the Patriot lock, the ankle lock. Eventually, Del Rio crawled his way out of the ring. They got back into it. Swagger gained the upper hand, managed to hit the Swagger bomb, but only got a 2 count. Then Del Rio locked on a cross arm breaker over the top rope, but he couldn't completely lock it on, so eventually he had to let go. But it was enough to disorient Swagger enough that Del Rio set Swagger up in the corner, hit him a bunch of times with chairs, and then put a pile up of chairs, and then did his double stomp finisher that he's been doing recently on onto the chairs, got the cover for the 3 count. No real shock here. Probably the only real surprise is Zeb Coulter did not make an appearance. Excuse me. And that leads us into the 8-man tag team elimination tables match between Team ECW consisting of the Dudleys, Tommy Dreamer, and Rhino against the Wyatt family. Yeah, this was a terrible match. This was just really, granted, not all those guys are the greatest workers in the world or can really work on a regular basis anymore, but man, there was a major spot. We'll touch on that right now. Early on, Dreamer was tossing garbage cans and kendo sticks in the ring for a tables match. And funny thing was, almost right away, they had a table set up in the corner. Braun Strowman goes to hit, I want to say it was Bubba Dudley. It was Bubba Ray. I'm pretty sure it was Bubba Ray. Bubba Ray dodges out. Strowman's foot goes through the table, but Strowman's not eliminated. He went through the table. Bubba basically dodged a motion like this to push him out of the way. Strowman's foot goes through the table. He went through the table. Strowman should be eliminated, but he's not. And they said, well, he didn't put himself through the table. Yes, he did. His foot went through the table. And then Eric Rowan came in. He tried to set Devon up on a table. I think what they were trying to do was either Dreamer or Bubba Ray were going to pull Devon off the table, and Rowan was going to throw himself through the table. He missed the table, and so the Dudleys just 3D'd him through the table, and that's how Rowan got eliminated. Eventually, Rhino tried to set up Luke Harper for a spear through a table, but Harper countered, hit a big boot, sending Rhino through the table. That's how Rhino was eliminated. Then Bray Wyatt hit Devon with an Uranagi through a table. That's how Devon was eliminated. Luke Harper then basically, I don't know if he speared Tommy Dreamer through the table or if he hit the big boot and Dreamer fell through the table, but Dreamer was then eliminated. Bubba starts to rally. He sets up the table, and just a bit early before Dreamer was eliminated, there was this thing where they took Braun Strowman and they started covering him in tables as a way to incapacitate him, even though Braun Strowman should have been eliminated. Again, well, you could have just easily thrown him through the table. They had a table set up right there and said, no, they cover him up like that was supposed to end the match. I don't know how. Anyway, Dreamer was then eliminated. Bubba began to rally. He gets a table. He starts looking underneath the ring. He pulls out a big canister of lighter fluid. He starts spraying it on the table. He pulls out a lighter. He starts to set up to powerbomb Bray Wyatt through a table. But before any of that can happen, Braun Strowman runs in and chokeslams Bubba through the table. The table's not even set on fire yet. It was just a table covered in lighter fluid. And the Wyatts win. Yeah, worst match of the night. Anyway, on to what was a much, much better match. Not a great match, but a much, much better match. Kevin Owens versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental Championship. Early on, Owens was just tossing Ambrose around the ring, clotheslining him, punching him, everything. Eventually, Ambrose began to rally. He clotheslined Owens out of the ring. Owens, they were fighting outside of the ring, and Owens hit a big follow-away slam into the barricade, and then hitting it up with a running senton on the floor. Ambrose barely beat the 10 count back into the ring and began to rally back. He hits his big rebound clothesline. But Owens fought back again, threw Ambrose into the corner, set him up for the cannonball. Owens ran for the cannonball. Ambrose dodged out of the way. Ambrose then hit a top rope bionic elbow smash for a 2 count. Owens then hit a forward rolling slam from the top rope for a 2 count again. Ambrose managed to counter a move, not quite a pop-up powerbomb. Owens went for a move. Ambrose countered it into a Dirty Deeds. Gets 1, 2, and Owens just barely manages to touch the rope with 2 fingers. He's like, ugh, and they just stop it. Ambrose snaps. He's flying around the ring. And this allows Owens to get up. He starts going for a pop-up powerbomb again. Ambrose misses. He goes up for a pop-up powerbomb again. Ambrose kind of counters out of it. Ambrose goes for 1 move. Owens hits Ambrose in the gut, throws him for the pop-up powerbomb 1 more time. Ambrose counters the pop-up powerbomb into a victory roll for the 3 count. And Dean Ambrose has won the Intercontinental Championship. And afterwards, JBL and Jerry Lawler started talking about going on a cooking show. I get that JBL's trying to talk about how Ambrose would not be a good representative for the company as a champion, being on talk shows, and for some reason, Jerry Lawler kept harping on about her cooking show. Excuse me. In between this, there was this kind of funny vignette because the TLC pay-per-view, or, well, special event, was sponsored by Toys R Us and K Jewelers, which is a weird combination for sponsors, don't you think? I mean, I get you want to try to keep the adult audience intact and everything, but we have a toy store and a jewelry retailer. And they did this thing where a guy proposed to his girlfriend in a WWE ring. Yeah. Although, admittedly, they followed that up with a promo for the Royal Rumble, and I began to wonder, is the Royal Rumble going to be sponsored by the combination of Preparation H and Rolos? I can't help but expect that. Anyway, the next match for the Divas Championship, Charlotte versus Paige. Crowd very much pro Paige. I mean, they turned Charlotte heel. This match basically turned her heel. I don't think it was quite the double turn. I don't think Paige was entirely sympathetic. But yeah, Charlotte's a heel at the end of this match, but we'll touch on that. Early on, Charlotte was tossing Paige around. She tossed her into the corner and started mocking her with doing the "This is my house." Paige began to rally. She kicked Charlotte. Charlotte did the patented flare fall where it's like, I can't do it while standing up, you know, the boom. And the action briefly spilled out of the ring. Ric Flair stepped in front of Charlotte briefly. This distracted Paige just enough for Charlotte tried to run back into the ring to get the count-out victory. Paige made it back into the ring, though. Charlotte walked around, just started continuously mimicking her father the whole time. I don't know if this is necessarily the way one should turn her heel, just by having her act like her dad. Anyway, let's see. Paige eventually rallied, locked on the figure 4, but Charlotte managed to roll over just enough. Paige then hit a fisherman suplex for a 2 count. Paige hits the Rampage then, goes for the cover, but Ric Flair pulls Charlotte's legs under the one of Charlotte's legs under the rope, and so it only stops at 2. Paige gets up and starts yelling at Rick. This allowed, let's see, again, this kind of allowed the ref to get distracted a little bit. Rick had, a little earlier in the match, very loosely untied one of the turnbuckle pads. Charlotte eventually ripped that off while Paige was arguing with Ric Flair. Charlotte took Paige's head and rammed it into the second turnbuckle, the exposed turnbuckle, and then covered Paige for the 3 count. And we have basically our second worst match of the night. I mean, I gotta give them credit. Technically, we had 2 Divas matches on this pay-per-view. I can't think of any other pay-per-view that had 2 Divas matches on it. So, I'll give them credit there. But yeah, this was not a very good match. Like I said, Charlotte's basically a full-blown heel. You know, afterwards, they did a backstage vignette where Becky bumped into Charlotte, and she's like, I don't really approve of your winning like that. She's like, what, would you rather have the title be on Paige? Well, you know, I thought I was your best friend. Come on, where's your support? Well, okay, and then, yeah. Excuse me. And that leads us into our main event, the last match of the night, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match between Sheamus and Roman Reigns. Early on, they were doing the intros and everything, and Reigns got very prominently booed, and Sheamus really got booed. And then the crowd started chanting for Cena. Granted, this was in Boston, which is, well, kinda John Cena's hometown. He's from West Newbury, which is a little bit further away from Boston. But, like I said, anyway, early on, Sheamus hit a big back, took a big, Roman Reigns' back body, dropped Sheamus over the ring barricade. Reigns slammed Sheamus into the ladder, into one of the ladders, and just bent it up bad. Sorry. Reigns threw Sheamus into the TLC set briefly. Sheamus would fight back. He had a big back body drop Reigns onto a table. He then suplexed Reigns onto a table. This was all on the entrance ramp. This was not in the ring. Eventually, Reigns started to rally back. He went for his drive-by, but Sheamus countered it with a clothesline. Sheamus hit Reigns with a white noise through a table. Reigns countered a roll-up into a powerbomb onto a ladder. Sheamus countered a Superman punch into a backbreaker. Reigns hit Sheamus with a Samoan drop from the ring apron onto a ladder. A lot like the similar bump that Sheamus took where he tore his labrum. And Sheamus was out. Reigns finally managed to get to his feet. He got into the ring. He started climbing the ladder, but Sheamus just rallies and stops it at the last possible moment. Both Reigns and Sheamus were climbing the ladder. Reigns hit a Superman punch. Sheamus falls off the ladder and through the table. Reigns again starts climbing the ladder, and then Rusev and Del Rio come down to the ring. But not Wade Barrett, which is odd because just before, at the end of the kickoff show, they did a vignette with the League of Nations, Rusev, Sheamus, Del Rio, and Barrett. So Barrett was there. Don't know why he didn't come down and beat up Roman Reigns, but nope, just Rusev and Ziggler, not Ziggler. Sorry, Rusev and Del Rio jumping Reigns. They're fighting him off. Sheamus was climbing the ladder, using this to climb the ladder, but Reigns fought off the League of Nations, pulled Sheamus down, but Sheamus came back and hit him with the bro kick. Sheamus started climbing the ladder again. Reigns had been he rolled out of the ring, but he managed to roll back into the ring, and grabbed the bottom rung of the ladder. But by that point, Sheamus's hands were already on the title belt, and Sheamus is still the world champion. He pulled the belt down. After that, Del Rio and Rusev were celebrating with Sheamus. They lifted him up on their shoulders, and Reigns speared them. Reigns then grabbed a chair and began assaulting Sheamus, hitting him repeatedly. All the rest are coming down to the ring to try to stop him. He doesn't care. Triple H and Stephanie come down, and finally Triple H says, "Calm down. What are you doing? Stop it. I get you're angry, but this is not how to do it." And Reigns just kind of starts to cool down a little bit. They get Sheamus out of the ring, but then Reigns comes back and hits Triple H with a Superman punch. He then starts beating Triple H with the chair mercilessly. He then picks up Triple H and power bombs him onto the announce table, and then hits a big elbow drop through the announce table. They're starting to come down to check out him. Reigns storms off again, He then turns around, he runs back, and he spears Triple H one more time. And that's kind of how the pay-per-view ended. Overall, the ladder match itself, the TLC match, was pretty darn good. I don't think it was as good as the tag team match. That was definitely the match of the night. But this was really good. They got a lot of the good spots in. It worked really well. You know, even the ending, I mean, I do have to wonder how they're going to do this. I mean, obviously they're going to suspend Reigns or something and try to ban him from the Rumble. But eventually Reigns will probably work himself into the Rumble because he has to win the Rumble if he's going to main event WrestleMania. Unless he's going to win the world title. Which doesn't seem to make any sense because they're... Like I said, they want Sheamus to win the title... Not Sheamus. Reigns to win the title at WrestleMania. And he's not facing Sheamus. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. So this should be rather unique. Excuse me. Well, okay. After that, we're getting the next video will be up on Wednesday evening-ish, I'm guessing, because the NXT Takeover London show is going to be held at 2 o'clock my time. So yeah, that's Wednesday. Next Monday will be the random trade review on Neozoic. I just started scripting that, so yeah, after I get this edited and rendered and uploaded, that'll be the next video up. Or not, I'll have to get around to scripting then, I'm sorry. Oh, I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. See you all Wednesday.
Wow.